Hi, and thank you for viewing Spiritual Alchemy, the podcast with Julie. I'm your host, Julianne Guthrie-Smulson, bringing you woo-woo for your boohoo. The intentions of this podcast are many. One of those is to bring guests to share their experiences, stories, and what they do to bring their light to the world. My guest tonight is author David Ortega. We will be discussing his book, Cultivating a New Generation, The Power of Being a Couple. Welcome and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Julie. It's my honor and pleasure to be here and to speak about the book.
And what you do.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and where you're located?
Okay, of course. Yeah, I'm in Mexico City. And my background is mainly I am a biochemical engineer. Then I did a master's degree in molecular biomedicine, in half in Mexico City, half in Pennsylvania. I was researching dendritic cells and vaccines and all of those things. And then I returned to Mexico and I started to work in the pharma industry in many of the top 5 major companies. And I was in the clinical research area as a monitor, it is the name, is the surveillance of the clinical trials. And then I became a manager. So then I am a very curious person, and I don't know how to say it, but I don't like to do the same thing over and over. So I moved back to teaching and to the passion that I have for teaching. So I started to teach again in the university in many health careers, such as medicine or nutrition, or in those topics of nutritional science, biochemistry, molecular biology, genetics, immunology, and all of those subjects and topics. And then destiny took me to one of the biggest breakthroughs for me, which was going to a very high level course of coaching. I didn't know about that realm of coaching. My brother introduced me to that. And with all of my journey and the tools that I already had with my background, this guy, Brendan Burchard, is the name of this trainer. He really blew my mind. And from that beginning, I fall in love with this realm of coaching. So I took it seriously, and I started to create something. So I started to create a community of wellness through science, because I wanted to merge the two things, the health, the science, and also the spiritual tools, which also I walk by them through my journey, through the things I lived. And I really had a very, very fun time doing it and creating all of the things, because I am more convinced than ever that we came to this world with a purpose, with a mission. And all of the things that happen in your life start to opening doors and another door and another, so that you see the clarity better, so you have more clarity on the things that you want and how you want to help in the world. That was my mission. My mission is to help people, to guide them into a journey of healing with the everything that we have inside, because we are completely amazing. We have the divine magic inside of us, and we need to understand and to own that we have all that power inside, instead of being distracted by the external noise.
Exactly. What was your catalyst in writing this book? Did you have an experience that led you to write it?
my catalyst was that I have been, or I was struggling with many of my relationships in the past. So I have many experiences where I was the common denominator.
Hmm.
So I noticed that something was happening. So I had to do something with those emotions, and I had to start empowering myself with my journey. So understanding the story of my parents, understanding the story of all of the emotions that I lived with them, and how I was repeating the story with different persons, no? So that was my inspiration, and I really believe that if you don't take ownership of all of those things, you will keep pulling the energy with you.
Right.
No?
Right. Um, so this book is about a couple, and from the time they meet until after they have their child, and their healing. Um, are you Mario?
No, I'm not.
Well,
It was a character that I created in my mind. It had to have a struggling story so that I could go through all of those layers, peeling at those things. There are some passages, or there are some things that were inspired from the things that I lived, but not
mhm,
everything was from me. No,
right,
many of the things I tried to put the things that I learned, but trying to shape this character to be more attractive in
right,
terms of the knowledge that I wanted to give.
right. Mario has an addiction, a few addictions in the beginning, and and then he meets Betty,
Yeah,
and she has no clue that he's had this problem, and Mario decides that it's time for him to go to basically a rehab, correct?
yes,
Where he gets help,
yeah,
and he goes through a program. And in your book, you kind of what is it called? You give more
layer,
thought, the
yeah,
thoughts at the end, like these are things to do, the exercises to do it, and things to review and look at. Did you want to talk a little bit about, what he went through as far as his recovery?
yeah. Actually, well, through the book, through the story, what I want to do is to help the reader to witness a story where everything is assembling. No, the pieces of the background that they have with their families, the story that they have with their own parents, the masks that we use, the facade that we use, that we are doing the things just for people to like us, or
Mm-hmm.
just for people to many times in relationships we try to be the person, the ideal. No, we try to shape ourselves and to show the best, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the struggle with Mario. He knew that he had an addiction problem. He knew that it was not solved, but he loved too much Betty in the relationship. So he was very nervous, and he was very hesitant to do to say the things, to show himself, because he was not even accepting himself. And that's many times the journey of many people, no,
And
not with addictions, but just not accepting what who they are and how they are, no.
and this stems back to his parents and his upbringing and their hurt that's carried on to him,
Yeah,
that he has to come to terms with, and just basically program himself to a more mindful state of awareness in his life, right?
Right. Yeah. Through all the things that they happen, and through the experiences and the struggles, he starts realizing that he needs help, and that's where he decides to go to this rehab place, to the clinic, to start working with all his story. And that's when he realizes that many of the life of his parent, mostly his father in this case, had a very hard influence in him. The He wasn't attended. He didn't have the proper needs in terms of love and attention by his father. He had a lot of money, but he didn't have the attention. So that's also some things that happen in many families.
Mm-hmm.
The basic needs are met, but not the ones that are in terms of affection and love and emotions. No?
Right. And then on the other hand, Betty had her own problems
Yeah.
that she brought to the relationship. While Mario was in rehab, they had decided in the book that they weren't going to speak during that time. It was terms that Betty laid out, and but Mario did write her and tell her what was going on in the rehab, and she was doing the same work on her own.
Yeah.
And poor girl was on her own with she was pregnant at the time, and so she decided to make some changes in her life as well. And then they eventually have this baby, and which is how I wish all parents could approach raising a child or bringing a child into the world the way that you express it should be done in your story. They work together and they develop plans together to work their problems out and deal with the stresses in life. And it's really hard to have, your first baby, there's a lot of stuff going on, work, finances. Did you want to share anything about that part of the book where they have the baby?
Yeah. That part of the book was wrote with a lot of emotions in terms of my own life, of course, because that's what I think that many young people should think about before having a baby. No, when they are having a relationship, what I try to depict in this book is to try to see the things from the perspective of couples are a team, and they should work together in their own paths, in their own things, in their own backgrounds, in their own struggles and pain. But if they work together as it was depicted in the story, the chances that we would have a very, very different world, because children wouldn't be damaged with the stories and with the struggles as much as many of us are. No?
Yeah, I really related to the interference from other family members, in-laws,
Yeah.
and really coming together and setting boundaries together in order to create their own relationship and their own family. That's really important because it affected my marriage quite a bit. So that's just a personal note. So talking on that topic, I recently spent some time with my ex-husband. He's made some changes in his life as far as health and taking care of himself, but we've been divorced for like 4 or 5 years now, and but the thing he hasn't dealt with was the emotional trauma that he suffered as a child. So now we have two adult boys that are carrying on this pattern of behaviors, not just from him, but from me. They got all the good traits from me, but how do you approach healing those wounds? I'm doing my work. I'm still healing. I'm still like uncovering things and healing from it. But how would you approach, because a lot of people are in this same situation. They can be civil with their ex, but there's still wounds there to heal, and with their adult children.
Yeah, I just think that healing is an ongoing process. You will get engaged in that process, and probably it will never end because you keep wanting more. And my idea, in my humble opinion, is to be better than yesterday. That
Right.
day by day, be better than yesterday. You are human. You will make mistakes, but it's more about being aware of the things and not doing it over and over, because you have to be able to go deep into your story, into the wounds, and that's what many people is afraid of. First is the fear, and second is they don't know how to. No, but we all have problems, we all have difficult lives, we all have struggles, we all are humans, and we came here to learn from that. We even, as I also wrote it in the book, we chose our parents to learn that, to learn from those contrasts, to learn from those things that they did and that probably hurt us. But from there, it will be a mission to accomplish in your life. No, first to heal yourself, and then to enable others to walk that path, and to help them to see clarity in their lives. No.
Well, you can't take a horse to water and make them drink,
Yeah, of course.
Are you saying you just set an example for your children and others around you to see the change?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't like the change. Let me tell you.
Yeah,
they don't like it.
I know that, but just by healing you and by being you in a different position, you will be able to attract the right kind of people. So you will surround with a bubble. That's the name that I use for that energy. And from that bubble, you can expand different vibrations, and eventually they will have to decide for themselves,
right,
that they want to do the work, that they want to also heal, they want to feel different, and they will have to have struggles and have breakups and damage probably one or two children. But the idea is, yeah, the idea is to try to give the young generation a different vision for them, to see the story as real, to see the story as what many people have lived, and to see that they can do the work, and they can find another person that will have troubles and that will have things, but if they commit to do it, they will eventually heal and be better. No.
Is your book available on audio?
No, I will try to do it in audio. I will work for that, because I know that many people enjoy the audio, and I will do it for next year.
Okay, because I want to play it for my oldest son's engaged, and I don't want to see things passed on to my grandchildren. So
that's the idea, no? That also laying out that epigenetic realm or mark explaining it in terms of how we are passing on generation after generation the things, it's the way we are right now. No, the world that we have today is because, and it's not about blaming, it's just a consequence, and that's it. It's just because we have been passing on the emotions and the marks, the epigenetic marks, and all of those things, no, that we carry on because we don't want to get responsible. That word is so strong for many people.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for their actions or their behavior, or and owning up to passing something down generation to generation. I mean, you got to take responsibility for your own self and do the work, basically. Okay. Do you have an indigo child?
I don't really know. I haven't tested her, but I believe that she is very, very, very intelligent and sensitive to the energies. So that's why I also wrote that part of the indigo child, because she really surprised me with the level of awareness that she has.
From birth, or before birth, actually, because in your book you talk about the mother. You're picking out names, or excuse me, Mario picking out names for the child, and the child responded to one of the names, and that's what her name was.
Yeah.
So
my daughter was born on July 15, 2014, and when she was in the belly of her mother, I spoke to her, and I told her that she should be born on a number 5. Number 5, no?
Why number 5?
I like that number. I have researched a little bit more about that number, and it's my fixed number in terms of the different numbers that you have in your life, no?
Oh, so she was born on the 15th then.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What sort of things do I mean, maybe some of our audience may not know what an indigo child is. So maybe you could, beyond awareness, maybe some of the things that maybe your child has done, or you've read on indigo child that they do and express.
Yes, they are very sensitive in terms of the energy.
Yeah.
They have a very reflective, insightful mind. They might seem that they are distracted, but they are not. That's just a trait of their personality, and they are more in the inner world than in the outside world. No, they are more connected with them than with whatever can happen around them. So in those terms, they can either be too sensitive to an environment that is toxic, or they can develop a quality of protection from those kinds of environments, no?
And their reactions to their environment are heightened as well.
Yeah, they are heightened
because they're so aware. What was I gonna say? Indigo children. And nurturing an indigo child, or someone that is sensitive, that has special abilities, gifts. Nurturing that is difficult in our society. Have you had to or have you chose to raise your child differently or find outlets for your child to do because of their gifts?
What I try to do is to talk with her as if she were an adult,
Mhm.
because I I have picked up from her that she's very wise in terms of when I explain the things, even though they are sometimes scientific.
Mhm.
She loves that, and she wants to know the things. And when I tell her with simple examples, for instance, I talk with her about the sugar addiction, no? And I tell her, if you eat too much sugar or too much candy, which she doesn't, but sometimes I explain why not. Uh, I tell her that the neurons release their hands, and they don't connect with each other. So if you don't have proper connections in your neurons, you won't be able to think clearly, and you won't be able to understand anything in the school or things. So she learned so much about that analogy, that
Mhm.
when she sees other people eating sugar, she tells them, don't eat sugar because you will be silly and your neurons will release the hands and you won't think. So,
Some stranger on the street eating ice cream. Stop that. So you want to go into, you do a lot of nutrition and working out and talking about the different chemicals that are released and what it does to the body.
in terms of the exercise, yes. Well, it is for me was the beginning also to the journey of healing, because when I was doing exercise, I was connected into another realm, into another energy.
Mm.
And that mainly is because we release dopamine, serotonin, BDNF, which is a neurotransmitter that protects neurons and even makes others grow and expand the connections. So that's mainly why you are feeling better, and it regulates many of your hormone patterns in terms of adjusting them so
Mhm.
that you can rest more, or have also control of the cortisol levels, which are the the main reason that you are stressed out or
Mhm.
drained or overwhelmed. So for me, it was also a very good strategy to learn the things in the school.
Mhm.
I used to do exercise before any kind of test or exam or interview.
Mhm.
So I boosted my mind with those chemicals, and then I study more, a little bit more. So it worked perfectly for me. So I believe that exercise also is a window of opportunity in terms of walking or opening a new path to take the healing path, no? To start seeing other things, because
Mhm.
also in the environment of the exercise or training or any kind of sport, you know different kind of people. Mm.
Mhm. Sure. And then the nutrition plays a big part in that too.
Mm.
And between eating junk food or eating healthy and combining that. You want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Well, I also learned that through the hard way, because when I was a child, I was a chubby guy. I was picked on by other guys that were slim. So I suffered a lot of bullying, even
Mhm.
from my family. So one day I just decided to stop that, and exercise was the window. So by doing exercise, I start to lose weight, and then I start to develop a different kind of taste for the food, and
Mhm.
to I really didn't like to do diets. I don't believe in diets. I believe in knowing your body and knowing what works for you.
Mhm.
So that's what I have been doing with my body. Now,
Mhm.
testing the foods, testing the different kind of things that I can take out or measure more, and
Mhm.
assembling the pieces of the macro and the micronutrients. No, because knowing now what happens in your body with the metabolism and on all of those things, we can easily develop a meal plan that doesn't
Mhm.
have to be as restrictive as a diet.
Mhm.
And we also have been led to believe that we need to eat a lot of times, which is not
Mhm.
true. No, I have researched about that since 3 years ago, and I have discovered that those kind of plans or sort of diets came out from a mafia between the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry, because the more you eat, the more anxious you are going to develop, and the less you are going to let your organs rest.
Mhm.
So the ideal mm, plans or the ideal schedules to eat are just 3 meals,
Mhm.
and enlarging the time of your fast period. So doing sort of the intermittent fasting programs, that's what works. And that's not a diet, that is a lifestyle,
Mhm.
because you are learning that your body takes 6 to 7 hours to digest the food.
Oh.
So between the time that you eat and you are chewing until it absorbs in your intestines, it
Mhm.
takes 6 to 7 hours. So if you are eating every 3 or every 4 hours, you are not living.
Digest.
Yes, you are not digesting and you are not absorbing, and you are just building up nutrients, which, well, not the nutrients, but food. And
Mhm.
many of that food is going to be stored as fat.
Mm. So, so in your diet or meal plan, excuse me, you
Mhm.
you have 6-7 hours between meals. Then are they small meals?
That depends on every person, because if they are in the proper weight and the proper percentages of fat, muscle, and those levels, and in terms of cellular aging, it works to have a much um, strong meal. No, to have a loaded some sort of meal, not so small. That depends on every person. If they have a little overweight or they are in obesity, then they should reduce the meals until their metabolism pick up the rhythm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you eat more vegetables and fruits than proteins, or is it balanced
It
in your
is
meal?
more balanced. It is more balanced. I try to eat the three macronutrients, but I try to reduce a lot the simple sugars.
Mm.
So many of the products that we are used to buying have a lot of sugar, and we don't notice that because they are just on the label. But
Mhm.
many people don't read labels.
Mhm.
So what I try to do is to open up the awareness for people so that they can start reading the labels and understanding how much sugar they are eating throughout one day, because
Mhm.
adults need more or less 50 grams of sugar per day.
Mm.
So that's like probably 9 to 12 spoons of sugar,
Mm.
spoons of coffee spoons. No,
Right, teaspoons.
yes, teaspoons.
And an average person, what did they normally eat on average?
on average they eat like 20 or 30 teaspoons. That depends also, but it's a lot more.
Yeah,
It,
I know my intake's a lot more.
yeah, it
um,
is so the ideal thing is to start reducing step by step, not from one day to the next, because that doesn't work. You know, it works reducing um, like in steps,
mhm,
small increments,
mhm.
and just adjusting yourself and adjusting your body to the lower amounts of sugar, and suddenly you don't need the sugar.
And
you are,
then when you go and eat that sugar, you're kind of weird after, right?
yeah, yeah, you feel different. Even you don't tolerate the sugar, you start
Right.
having sometimes reactions from your body. So it is also more of picking up the signals from your body now, because it tells you. The body is so wise that when you really listen to those signals, you are going to be able to notice that you ate more than you had to. No.
Right. Um, so if it, I know you do courses, and if it wasn't COVID season, um, do you do retreats, in person courses, and what do you cover in those courses?
Yes, without the COVID, I used to do these kind of in-person courses, and what I do is that I teach this big program of the 5 core areas of the inner health. So I start with nutrition and with the awareness of creating the habits. So what
Mhm.
I teach people is to understand how the habits are created in your brain, in your emotions, and understanding how you are sabotaging yourself sometimes. No? And then
Mhm.
we enter nutrition. So I start explaining the macros, the micro, and the pathways. So I go deep in that science. I try to explain it as simple as possible, but
You're a scientist.
yeah, but I think that that's what people like, even though
Oh,
it is complex or it is science. They like to understand those things because they feel empowered. No.
do you have an opinion on GMOs? It's a question from a viewer.
Yeah, GMOs are not, of course, recommended in terms of all the chemicals that they also have. And what I suggest is that when you read any kind of label for the food, if it has more than 5 technical names or names that you don't even or you can even pronounce, don't eat that, because that's processed food, and that is food that is going to harm you in the long run. No.
So do you stick with more organic?
Yeah.
Okay. So back to your courses. So the 5 core.
Yeah. After I explain those nutrition facts and understanding all of these macro and micro, and mostly vitamins and minerals are not even aware in many people mind, no, because they just hear it and they buy the multivitamins, which are not also the best ones,
Mhm.
because they have very very low quantities of what you need. So I explained the most common vitamins that you need, and in order to make your metabolism work. So the next pillar is the exercise and metabolism, and I go deeper in that area. I explain the pathways of glucose, I explain the pathways of the fats, I explain the pathways of proteins, and I also lay out, or I pick the specific spots where you need the vitamins and why you need them, and the minerals, and how they are the password, so that the enzymes, which are your helpers, are going to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I also explain the microbiota, sleep patterns, circadian rhythms,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it in that second pillar. And then I move on to the emotional resilience. So I explain the emotions in terms of the vibrations, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the energy that you are having inside of you, and the cycles.
I got a question. Where did you get your spiritual training? And just because
I
it's
yeah
science is part of that, because a lot of healers like the science behind the healing and the energy. So
yeah I was training with Deepak Chopra. I
oh,
trained with him also. Also, I did some courses of him with Dr. Sue Morter. Those are the two big ones that I have for spiritual teachings.
and so you integrated your what you learned there into your courses.
Yeah, yeah.
And so from the emotional and the spiritual point, where do you go from there in your course?
From the emotions, I go to the meditation and spirituality. So I explain that also in terms of the breathing, how it works, and what happens inside of you, the meditation and the epigenetic changes that it produces, and how it shapes your inside just by connecting with a higher power, perception, consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
more ac- well, more than in touch with that part of your consciousness, no, being more aware of the things and explaining the layers of those things. I mainly read a lot of um, spiritual journals.
Mm,
So that's where I take many of the information, complemented with the training that I have.
awesome. And do you have any testimonials? And uh, your most common client coming to you for one of these courses, what is typically their intention when they come to you? Is it the emotions, or is it, you know, the body health, or
It is the emotions and also the nutrition part.
mm,
Although, as it is a very um, robust program in terms of the 5 areas,
mm-hmm,
which I miss one, and is the abundance or financial wellness. I explained that also in terms of the result of working in the other four. No, if you work the other four, the abundance comes right right
yeah,
away as a consequence. No,
right,
and people come from nutrition, from emotions, and also to understand the science point. And they are very curious about how I mix spirituality and science, because they, as you ask me, scientists usually are not spiritual, no,
or religious.
or religious. Yeah. So the idea is to try to merge those things. They were never separated, but
Mm-hmm.
we just learned that, no.
Right, it's something. Yeah. Um, do you have any testimonies from clients that their transformation?
Yes, I have some of them in my website, and you can watch the videos if you go to the website in the Growing from Within program. It is the how to say, the page or the window, the
Mm-hmm.
big Growing from Within, and in there you will see the testimonials. And what I can tell you is that it is a transformation process. It is working every day. It is not a program that is going to be performed in two 2 days or in a weekend, because I believe that working in the things is every day and is creating that space. And then once you have the habit, you will unfold and release a lot of things.
Do you have repeat clients coming back for different courses?
Yes, yes. Actually, some of the members that were in the Growing from Within, they enrolled in the annual program, because now I launch a membership program
Mm.
where I will teach the ones that I already taught in other kinds of programs in an annual basis every month. And every month I will teach them on a different topic of those 5 areas.
Is that a one-on-one or is that a group?
It's a group coaching. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So what's the difference from seeing you in person than and taking it online? What do you get out of it if we get to see you in person?
Well, I believe the energy, it's different, no?
Yeah.
And also creating that bubble, because you feel, and when I did it in person, I it was very, very emotional, the things that many people witness with others, no? So they could see the witness of
Mm-hmm.
change of others. So
Right.
they began in a certain face, shape,
Mm-hmm.
even mood, and
Mm-hmm.
they end up the program with a completely different mindset. No.
And they create relationships in those courses as well, and probably form lifelong friendships
Yes.
and that. Um, so I know you have something starting pretty soon.
Yes. Actually, today I launched 2 platforms on Facebook for people that really want to commit in this journey of changing their lives. One in Spanish, one in English. So, because I have audiences from both sides, and what I the mission of those platforms is to create a community of people that heal themselves, that start walking their path, and that start creating the habits. And in the future, of course, the people that are receiving the training, they will be able also to share their journeys, to share their tools, and eventually, if they start doing work or if they start launching programs, the idea is that it's a community that we are also going to support each other, no,
Right.
to grow.
Right. And inform others like we're doing tonight.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so now that we're in like COVID weather, um, is your platform like a Zoom meeting, or do you use a different format?
I use Google Meets,
Okay, so it's
so
kind of the same sort
yeah,
of platform.
kind of the same like Zoom. And next week, I'm going to teach a free class in those platforms, in those groups. So they are going to be 3 days of free Facebook Lives, talking
Facebook
about,
Live.
yeah, Facebook Lives of nutrition. They are going to be mainly of in terms of nutrition. And in the first week of November, I will have a master class for everyone that wants to understand how not to diet and how to enjoy food.
You do a lot of cooking. You share recipes.
No, actually, no. I don't have recipes, but I have a lot of things that will help you to create your own.
Uh, it's important to have recipes, though.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Yeah,
to
you
start.
need a cookbook.
Yeah.
So that's a paid class, right? That people can
Yeah.
find on your website. I've got his website on the ticker on the bottom of the screen if you want to go check that out. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the podcast tonight and tell our viewers?
Yes, I would just like to round up everything that we spoke as my thoughts for the future. That I believe that 2021 it's going to be a year that it will also be challenging again. It will also be hard for many people. It will have a lot of things that we will have to commit. This year, I believe, in my opinion, was a free year, was a year that was gifted to us. Gifted because in any time in the history, we had so much time for going inside, for detaching from the outside.
Right.
So if the people really committed at least part of the time to go deep and to start first recognizing that they need to work, this is still the time to work, because
Mm-hmm.
next year it's going to be a new community, a new consciousness, a new era for people that want to embark in a train where we are going to discover many things. It's going to be new, I believe.
It's going to be amazing. I
Yeah,
totally agree with you.
yeah,
And I'm just hoping people are doing their work or coming to terms that, oh, hey, I got to change. I need to fix this, you know. So, David, I want to thank you for coming on tonight, and thank my viewers for watching Spiritual Alchemy Energy, the podcast with me and David tonight. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook. This is Woo Woo for your Boohoo. And again, thank you, David. And don't forget to check David's courses out. Starting in November, the master class.
yeah. Thank you, Julie. I
Thank you,
really
David.
appreciate your kindness and your support for this community. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.